Hey Noah dude, so thank you very much for your update. It's funny, man. Like my American clients, I have two at the moment, and they seem to be the most concise with their updates. Like really, really concise and just straight to the point, really on point with their timing and everything. So I don't know whether something's in your water that makes you much more concise than UK people, but UK people seem to blab on their video updates, and you seem to just be very sort of quick to the point, which is great and very efficient on both ends. So this week's been decent. Obviously, the main drop came from sort of when we initially made that adjustment to 350, 40, 170 last Friday. You initially dropped down to 160.6, and we're like, whoa, initial drop. Obviously, a lot of that was kind of glycogen related, and then for once you sort of assimilated to the new macros, your average was down, but not significantly. So I think that overall we're trending in the right direction, which is good. But the overarching theme is that we do need to obviously continue to dig, and most likely to be able to do that, we do need to increase the deficit somewhat. So steps have still been sort of around about that 25k mark, man. So keeping them at 25k is obviously integral for you to keep moving forward with the same sort of deficit. So don't slack on those. Keep them at the 25k mark. I mean, I know it's super high, but you're not doing excessive cardio alongside that. You're only really doing sort of 1,000 calories, which is, comparative to some, not really excessive. You are doing a lot of expenditure through activity, which I think is something that we need to keep in mind when peaking, because the idea of peaking is that we do take down expenditure slightly to take away from the obviously activity on the lower body and take away from sort of any cell swelling that could potentially be caused by that, which I think somewhat might be holding back some of your quad conditioning, which is just, I think, just an accumulation of cell swelling in your quads, which will be interesting to see when we do run our first peak. It will be a very simple peak, most likely, but it will be involved, like the activity will come down. That will be part of your peaking process. Just to make sure that, again, like we're getting out all the quad detail. Sounds a bit broy, but getting out all the quad detail that is there that could potentially be hidden by some cell swelling. Weight wise, I'm happy with where you're at. Obviously, pictures wise, I'd like you to do them obviously Friday, next Friday. Obviously, I had them really, really recently, so I don't need pictures again necessarily over this weekend. What I do need is I need pictures again next Friday in the same lighting that you did them earlier in your midweek update. So that's what I'd like there. Obviously, some areas will still feel soft. And like me, you're very much in the prep brain mode, so you will feel like some areas are just taking longer, which they will do. And I think that, getting closer to that under 160 mark, I think once you dip under the 160s, we'll start to see some really good stuff happening with regards to your lower body. Upper body's not that far off, to be honest, mate. And the lower body is closer than I thought it was. So after you took the sort of the very honest yet slightly better quality images, it proved that we're not as far away as I thought we were, which is cool. So it'll be interesting to see what you look like when we do dip below that 160 mark. Very exciting. Sleep has been all good. Support and sort of your work environment has been decent. The only thing that started is school. So just please keep me updated with that. So if anything changes at school, any sort of stresses become involved, whether you sort of like feel like you're getting behind on work or anything you do ever want to share with me because it's all important. All right. So yeah, keep me updated with that. And sort of the stress has gone down massively whilst you've had my help, which is very kind of you, matey, very kind of you. And I think that the having me as an objective person in your corner, someone that's going to be very upfront with you and just tell you what to do, and you just go and chase it, and you just go and action everything that I tell you to do, that's going to keep your stress levels super low. And if you ever have any questions, mate, and you're like, okay, why are we doing this? If I haven't explained it, please ask why. Because when you ask why, that allows you to see why we're doing things, and that allows you to reduce stress. The only thing that you need to do on your training differently, mate, is not bother with logging RPE on your accessories. or anything that isn't in bold. So only the things that are in bold we need RPE on. The rest we don't. Reason being is that you can take most of these accessory moves or secondary moves to pretty much failure all the time on your last set, and that won't be an issue. But if you're taking, your compound work always to failure, like always RPE 10, that will produce a lot of systemic fatigue, which will cross over into your other days of training. So we just got to be aware of that. That's why I get you to log it and sort of see where the difficulty is changing, of course. But good logging, mate. Really, really good logging. Obviously, we haven't really got any sort of like compare and contrast of weekly data yet, but we will have when you check in next week. We'll have at least 3 sessions that I can compare and contrast and make sure that you're holding on to strength. But strength looks good at the moment, and most importantly, across your work sets, you're very consistent with your numbers. Because obviously, if we see a big drop off in set 1 to set 4, that means that essentially you probably haven't taken enough rest period. So that's perfect, mate. That's really, really good. I like the way that you're structuring everything, and obviously the goal at the moment is strength retention. We just need to hold on to numbers. If you can push numbers forward at any given point and you get an opportunity to do that, take it, run with it. But for the most part, what we need to look to do is hold on to strength as much as you can, especially on those pushing moves and the lower body. Pull, you might be able to get some element of progress out. Right, so we are going to increase the deficit, man. We're going to keep steps at where they are, obviously 25k a day. We're also going to keep cardio where it is at 1,000 calories. Most likely, energy expenditure is not going to change. However, we are going to make a change to food. So food is going to come down by 25 grams of carbohydrate. Now, this might sound like a big change. It's a big change because I do want to get you moving and trending in the right direction. I think at the moment your body weight is sort of stalled this week to an extent. So I just want to get your body weight moving in the right direction again and get another pound off next week. The idea is if we get pounds off now, we'll have potentially an avenue to increase food into your shows at some point, which is the main goal. Like that would be the best situation. So 325 carb, 40 fat, 170 protein. We will start the dig of those macros ideally tomorrow. So obviously you've got your numbers logged in for today. Your fat's a little bit low, but it doesn't matter. Your carbs and protein a little bit over, so that's all right. As you get closer, try to hit these numbers bang on, mate. I know that packaged items are a bit off anyway, but try and come as literally bang on to these numbers as you can. The better you are at doing that, the more consistent you'll have in your other measures and your energy levels. So start hitting 325, 40 and 170 as of tomorrow. Get those in, or today even if you get this update in time. So wake up and start hitting these macros. And then of course any questions that you do have for me, please ask, and we will chat very soon. Thanks again for your update, mate, and see you in a bit. See you later.